Wait, do we want to be on air first? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we
We're
are we
live.
are on air now. So Eric, go ahead, tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm 25 years old. Been sort of, floating about for the past few years, but I went to school for computer science the last 2 years, and yeah, I'm still going now. I still have one more semester and looking for a job, and heck, why not apply to Inventables, right?
Exactly.
Somehow I got the job, so there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
So,
your job title is?
software engineer intern.
Cool.
Yeah, so for now it's just like a temporary thing, but after a few months they're going to do a reevaluation and decide whether or not I should stay on permanently.
Nice.
So you're doing apps, web apps like easel stuff, or
Oh yeah, everything.
Everything.
Oh,
That's
nice.
awesome.
Everything, yeah.
That'll be great. Wow.
Yeah, we're coming out with some really exciting stuff. I'm sure you guys know about the apps that are built into the easel,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, so those will
Nope.
probably be out soon, and we're gonna add like a whole bunch of new apps that are really good looking. I can't really talk about the ones that aren't on there, but trust me, you guys are gonna want them because they're really good.
Are we going to see them? Are we going to see them as beta testers? Because I don't know about everybody else, but I'm on the beta side of the easel stuff.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah, I've got the beta account too, and it's only got those 2 apps on there, so I don't think that they've pushed it to the beta people yet. But eventually they'll probably release. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll probably release what we have now first, and then give like the beta people the stuff that we're working on afterwards.
Because it looked like the gear generator and the image converter was put public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have 2 more right now, and we're gonna probably start working on a few more.
Nice.
Awesome.
I won't be running easel or the Arduino's Gerbil combination on my machine. I'll be running Linux CNC with a Gecko 540 drivers and everything else. And so easel for me is not an option that I can see at this point in time. And I like my Sprute cam.
Do you guys have any numbers as to how many people actually are using easel?
I like watching these.
Yeah, we have stats for like pretty much everything.
Is that something you can share or no?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'd just be curious to. It'd be kind of an interesting thing to know.
Oh, trust me, I looked them up right away too.
Yeah.
They didn't even want to say what percentage were 500 and what percentage were 1,000.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're pretty. Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I mean, I can understand too how the x-carve piece is probably. I mean, and I don't know what the financial numbers are either, but I could see how easel is. That's the in-house baby. The x-carve is more of an open source kind of thing. Easel's more lockdowns. That would probably be that's their ace in the hole kind of a thing, and it's the.
Are those diapers?
No, they're my. So I don't like napkins. I use these are like shop towels. They're just the really cheap terry cloth, like washcloths. But I use these for napkins and stuff, just because I don't like paper towels and stuff. I think it's kind of wasteful. So I use these, and everybody else in the house hates it when I use the dish towels. So they bought me a pack of these, and they make me keep them close to wherever I'm
wherever your dirty hands are, right?
Yeah. But anyway, as far as easel is concerned, I can see how that's more of a closed ecosystem, and how that could be maybe a financial thing for them. So I could see how that would be a kind of a intellectual property that they wouldn't want. They wouldn't want a whole lot of information, stats, and stuff to get out. I mean, I could see that. I don't know that that's maybe the intent, but I can totally see how that would be a kind of a hush-hush thing. But it would be interesting to know out of the statistic of x-carve people who bought x-carves, what percentage of those people actually use easel on a regular basis? Because I know that I'm one of the people, I do use easel from time to time when it's a really simple project or maybe I'm testing something, like a new bit, or I just want to throw something in the machine, rock it out, and not have to do a whole bunch of setup or have to design a part in a 3D CAD program because I'm a Fusion 360 guy. Eric, several of us are in the Fusion 360 club. I think Eves, myself, and I think John's in the Fusion 360 club as well. But we all use that for our advanced modeling. I like to use easel for, like, if I'm going to do a sign or something just ultra simple just to test out a new bit or something, I do use easel for some things. But I like the advanced tool pathing and stuff like that, and the more granular control that I get from Fusion. And that would be an exciting thing for easel to give you the option to do those advanced tool paths and those advanced pocket clearing and stuff like that for the more seasoned CNC operators.
Well, I'm the same way with my sprue cam. I can do that, and I've been using it long enough that I can do things quickly with it.
Go ahead, Eric.
I use SolidWorks mostly with HSM Express built in. But I'm probably going to start shifting over to easel because, honestly, I can just make the drawings inside SolidWorks and then just export them to easel, and I have them pretty much everywhere. Like on my lap, I can use whatever laptop I want. I can use whatever desktop I want. So
I do like that cloud aspect. Yeah. I do like the cloud aspect of like Fusion has a cloud thing. I do like easel's cloud thing. The only thing I don't like is that every time you open easel, it creates a new project, and my project list is like this long, and I'm just like, and they're all untitled.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You can't delete them?
Well, yeah, you could delete them. You can just go in and hit the little trash can icon.
But
it would
like
be
a
kind
file
of
manager or something.
Yeah, it would be nice to,
I think
if there was a mechanism.
Maybe we could just switch it over to pull up whatever the last project that you worked on.
That would be great. That would be perfect. That's an excellent way to. And then if you save it, then it becomes another notch on the bedpost, and then you go back to that untitled every time you open it. It's just whatever.
Don't forget everything is autosave.
Right, and I like that too. But my point is like what Eric was saying is that every time you open, like I could go and open easel 3 times, and that's 3 untitled projects. But if like you have an untitled project, it just continuously opens that untitled project until you actually change the name, and then it'll open a new untitled project unless you select that.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, that would work. That would work really well, actually.
Don't worry, I'll bring it to them on Monday.
Sweet.
They'll keep you busy in.
Oh, I'm sure.
With ideas, that's for sure.
Yeah, you've got your notepad handy, right, Eric?
That's like the first gripe about easel is the never-ending untitled list. Matter of fact, for lulz, I'm gonna go and look at mine right now. Just for
so,
giggles.
Eric, I guess I don't know who was it. Was it you, Andrew, who saw Eric's post first? One of you guys saw his post first up on the forums.
I think it was Eves. But I think I'd seen it too. That's a pretty epic backplate there, my friend.
Oh yeah.
So
let me keep talking so you guys can actually see it this time in full screen.
Ooh.
But this took about an hour to cut out, and then about 4 hours to anodize. Something like I did this pretty much in one weekend.
Nice. And you're using the stock spindle for milling the aluminum?
No, I'm using the DeWalt 660.
See?
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Not the 611, the lesser powered 660.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now you being a Inventables employee, you will be forced to go back to the stock spindle. You're not allowed to use the upgraded spindles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Dave has a uniquely prejudice against a unique prejudice against that DC motor, also referred to as a spindle. Also referred to as a spindle. But I know. I'm planning on upgrading my spindle to a Makita 700 series. John's already got, just to give you a backstory. John's already got one, and he's probably going to lift it up, and there it is. I was waiting for that.
So it picks you.
What's that?
What?
I was telling John, say something so it picked up the mic, and so we could all see the spindle.
Oh yeah, sorry. I gotta remember to do that. Yeah. There you go.
And Eves already has. He's got a DeWalt. I think it's a 611. I don't know. He's on mute, so. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's got. Of course, Eves runs a Shipoko, and so does John. Technically runs a Shipoko thing.
Oh God, it's not a Shipoko anymore. It was a Shipoko. I upgraded to the x-carve, and then Dave showed me these plates,
and then it was all over.
And it's not even an x-carve anymore right now.
Yeah. Whoa, where did you get those plates?
Well, so if you look in the forums, Dave has a posting about tall and wide end plates. And so he drew them up. The DXF files are up there, and I just had a guy out here cut them. And this is the tall, wide, and gosh, they are just. It's amazing how much difference they made.
6 inches, 6 inches lift, or
50 millimeters.
50 mil.
Yeah. They work wonderfully, Dave. By the way, so.
Yeah. Looks like it.
Yeah. So yeah, highly recommended. It's amazing how much difference that made.
Well, after seeing those, John, I was going to have my water jet guy cut me mine in quarter-inch steel, but now I think I'll just machine them in quarter or 3/8 aluminum and be done with it.
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about having, the dissimilar metals, aluminum, and because I worry about that, the corrosion.
Oh yeah, if you live in a high humidity.
Yeah. So. It just takes that concern out of it for me. They're plenty strong, so. And I've also increased the Z on mine too a little bit. I think my Z is almost 12 inches.
Yeah. Well, of course, Eric, I'm reversing my Z, in that the what would have been the maker slide will travel up and down with the spindle on it, and what would have been the V wheels. Will be attached to the carriage, but I'm using instead of maker slide, I'm using aluminum machine parts, and instead of linear slides, there'll be 4 of these, and instead of Acme screws, a 10 millimeter, 4 millimeter pitch ball screw. So my machine, when it's all over and done with,
he's just building up. He's building Frankenstein's monster.
Yes.
I actually wanted to do that, try and convert it over to ball screws. Because it's supposed to be a lot more precise, a lot more solid, and since I do a lot of aluminum, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David also has a Tormach, by the way.
Oh wow! So you can just machine this stuff, whatever brackets you need or anything.
Yeah.
But for the background for Eric, I build custom computers and stuff, or I'm trying to get more into that, so I want to be able to acrylic and aluminum are the 2 things that I want to mill for the majority, and that's part of the reason why I'm upgrading to the more powerful spindle, and eventually I'm going to be upgrading to Linux CNC as well. John was nice enough to send me a fun parallel port breakout board, so there will be some upgrades to be had.
I'm just hoping I can get my hands on an X controller.
Yeah.
Start using that thing.
But that's just
that's the
basically
same thing, right?
Gerbil, right?
I think so, yeah.
It's a breakout board with Gerbil. I guess the other thing too is they have the proper circuitry for the end stops versus just live pins.
Well, the other thing is that they have 2 separate drivers for the Y-axis motors.
Oh, but they're mirrored, right?
I think so, yeah.
Slave. Yeah.
But it should fix those like out of sync issues that very rarely happen.
Well, that like a lot. Well, I know I had the insufficient power issue with my double Y. The way that it's wired, basically it's just you're doubling up a wire on a post, and it doesn't give enough juice to make both of those Y motors run. So a lot of people
in length, then you can like they're pretty close, but if one's really short and the other one's really long, there can be some difference there.
Yeah, well, I had to just tweak the voltage a little bit, and I was okay. But I've noticed that that's not an uncommon thing. But
That's, believe it or not, that's actually how I run with Linux CNC. I'm just using 3 drivers, and those 2 motors just go into 1 driver. But I talked to the guys that, the support at the company, and they're this thing can handle a pretty wide variety of impedances. So when you double up those motors, you're essentially changing the coil resistance. So, but they said it shouldn't be a problem, and I haven't had any problems. I'm running 24 volts at about 4 amps per phase or something.
You're also using those big monstrous stepper motor drivers. You're not using the G-Shield.
Yeah. So they're designed to take that kind of thing.
I think I'm going to be the only one for a while that's actually using the G-Shield. Because I know, Eves, you've got a custom setup. John, you do too. And David, your Frankenstein monster is somewhere else in another plane of existence. So you're still running a Tormach, so whatever.
Well, he's running the Gecko drivers, which are pretty common too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just some backstory, John. I think we're all enthusiasts.
You met Eric.
And we're excited about the x-carve. I know that I bought mine as a way to really kind of get into this stuff, and I really enjoy making things and that kind of stuff. So it's been a really, really good experience, and I feel like I was telling these guys before that I feel like Inventables is doing lots of things the right way, or the way that maybe is more moral. I don't know. It feels like if Zach is posted on the forums, it feels like if you reach out for support, people are willing to help. The community is there. That kind of stuff, and it just seems like there's a lot of positives that are floating around right now that just kind of I feel good about Inventables, even though maybe they're and it's nice that they've got like the DeWalt stuff available now, so I think they're moving in the right direction. They're doing the right things, and I think some of us have dealt with companies before where you buy their product, and maybe it's an expensive product or not, and it's like once the sale's made, that's it. You're cut off.
Rock, buddy.
Yep. Yeah. So, but I think Inventables still has the end user at heart. It just feels like the company is closer to the end user than some of these other companies with their 1,000-foot view.
Well, and I think a lot of the staff and people at Inventables started out as end users, and all. And so I know me personally, I've been looking at CNC routers for quite some time, and thinking about getting one and or building one from scratch. And then I don't even remember exactly how I ran onto the Inventables and the x-carve. I think it was a forum post on another forum that I hang out on someplace. But I looked at that and went through it and said, okay, well, I have stepper motors I can utilize. I have drivers I can utilize. Et cetera, et cetera. And I got my whole x-carve price down to just a scotch over $1,000, with expanding it from 1,000 by 1,000 to 1,000 by 1,800. So now there are a few additional things that I've got to get, but for all the basic materials, it worked out well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's kind
I
of
think there's a whole lot of people in that same boat.
Absolutely. I was almost ready to pull the trigger on a $700 Chinese CNC. And then I somehow, I have no idea how, came across the x-carve. I'm like, hey, they're here in Chicago. Let's go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I was actually looking at a Chinese 6040.
Yep.
One of those like $1,700 eBay ones. And yeah, I found that video of Zach and Bart talking about the upgrades compared to the Shape Oko 2. And they sold me on it, so yeah, I looked them up. They were in Chicago. All right, yeah, done deal.
Yeah. Well, and I like the fact, too, that you can buy a kit and you can go from a box of parts to a working piece of machinery, and then when you outgrow that, like me, I outgrew it very quickly, and that's fine. Once you outgrow it, you can upgrade it. It's not, this thing that you buy and then you're just stuck with it. I got an $800 thing that I don't have any use for anymore, or I've outgrown. It's nice that, with the x-carve and the Shipoko and all this open build stuff that you can buy, that you can go from X and then you can just build on that. So it's a great platform to get people more into this makers movement. And I think this is the new American dream, is the do it yourself, make it yourself, make a little money, supplement your income, which is kind of the way I'm looking to go with mine, is to supplement my income, build custom computers and stuff, and things like that. So.
Well, and I think you're also seeing, I noted on the forum, you're seeing a whole bunch of woodworkers that have thought about CNC or had a glimpse of CNC, but have never worked with CNC, didn't really know what CNC is or can do or anything else, and Inventables filled the gap for those guys in that they can get into CNC in their woodworking shop for not a whole lot of money, and maybe someday when they've got that machine and they've completely outgrown it and they totally understand CNC and what it can do and what it can't do and everything else, they can spring for a machine that'll take a 4x8 sheet of the toughest wood that they can get and turn it into the most beautiful signs or furniture or cabinetry or you name it that gets built in the wood shop. And also it's really filling a niche for the woodworkers out there in the world. I have to say world because when you look at the map, they're scattered all over the world now, and all. So, but
yeah, I think the x-carve is a great little sort of stepping stone to get into this. It's sort of with the easel, you can just get into it really easily. You don't have to mess with SolidWorks or Fusion 360 or anything like that. It's just here's a design, just throw it together and run the machine, and it just works. So and that helps people just sort of.
You're not losing steps.
Yeah. Yeah, and if people want to get it more in depth, or if easel doesn't meet their needs for whatever reason, it teaches them how to go about it, like the first step, and they can just yeah.
Well, it's an easy way to get exposed to G code. You know,
it's a very
and
forgiving machine. You know,
Yes.
it's very forgiving. That's what's cool about it is you see people that get these things together and don't spend a lot of time squaring things up and making things level and they still get good results. You know, so it's pretty impressive to me, and I think that's one of the huge benefits in this. I think that's why you get so many new people that just jump on it and they're able to do pretty nice things with it just because it is so forgiving.
Yeah, but then you get the reverse of that. The guy that puts it together and turns it on, and he is not able to get diddly squat out of it because he's done something wrong, all right, or he's pushing it too hard, or you know he expects that standard spindle to run for 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
On a cut, and so we're starting to see some people with some frustration in their posts on the forum because of difficulties they've run into.
Well, now we've got, okay, check your V wheels, check your drive current, you know, the simple stuff.
Oh yeah. So,
hey Eric, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the anodizing stuff. I know you mentioned that you had done some of that on that other on your backplane board for the video card, but I'd just like to know a little bit more about that. I know it's something I've thought about doing, but the chemicals always kind of turned me off a little bit. You seem to have quite a big bin, you know, for everything to be in there.
Well, I have to be able to fit one of these guys in there.
Autococker.
Oh yeah, and here's another one that's
Nice.
an even nicer one. But yeah, I gotta fit. You know, this is like 20, 30 parts, and I have to do them all at the same time so that it matches. So I have to have a big setup. But I got into anodizing about a year and a half ago. I think it was March of last year. And my brother's like a big paintball guy, and he wanted just a custom gun, you know, to play with himself. And he was looking at people's rates online, like other anodizers for paintball guns, and they're really expensive, you know, like $400 or $500 just for a very simple job. So he started looking into actually making our own setup and just doing it ourselves. And it turned out that it was like, you know, $800, $900. You can actually get into this pretty decently. It's only twice as much as whatever the people were charging. So screw it, you know, we can do all our guns then. But yeah, that was like a year and a half ago, and a lot of trial and error later, and kind of got the technique down now, and we can crank out good stuff on a regular basis.
Nice.
But as far as the chemicals go, yeah, it's pretty dangerous, and yeah, that is a big tub of basically sulfuric acid. But you just, you know, I keep it out of the way and, you know, put a lid on it and, you know, just try not to touch it when it's not in use. And nothing's.
I think it's Andrew. Andrew, mute your mic for a minute.
Yeah, you had headphones on and it was so quiet.
Yes, you've taken the headphones off. Now you're feeding.
Yeah, my headphones have battery. They're battery operated. I can run my headphones with a USB cable, with a 3.5mm jack, or on Bluetooth. Well, but they still have their own built-in sound card inside of them, so they have to have power regardless of how I do it, and they have so little power that I haven't charged them in a while, so they died like 5 minutes into the call. So now I'm back on my regular speakers and the
all right. Then you are.
The big crazy mic, and I've got a house full of people, and my walls are really thin, so it just kind of happens.
You're regulated to push to talk, then.
Yeah, there you go. Push to talk.
Yeah, push to talk.
If there's like, I wonder if there was a hotkey. That would be sweet if there was a hotkey and I could push to talk like TeamSpeak.
Maybe that would be.
I don't know.
Hey, Eric, I'm gonna go ahead and need that feature request. So push to talk on Google Chats from now on.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
Different company, yeah. Wait. So, Eric, where did you get the chemicals and stuff from for this?
Well, sulfuric acid is just battery acid, so you can just run down to Napa or AutoZone or something and pick up a 5-gallon jug of it.
You had just mentioned that it was like $400 or $500 to get into it. I'm just kind of like, okay, where did that?
Yeah, I'll give you a breakdown. So,
I'd be curious.
The things that you need no matter what. Obviously, sulfuric acid, probably, 20 gallons of distilled water. You need some way to rack your parts inside the tank. Usually, you should use titanium for that. And to get one part on a rack, it's probably like $2 worth of titanium. You also need a power supply. That's probably your biggest piece of equipment. It's like probably $100, $150 to get a constant current power supply that can output 20 amps and 30 volts. Yeah, you need a lot of power. You need to get some dyes. Dyes are like probably $20 for 2 gallons worth. What else do you need? You need some way to
plastic
finish.
Tanks, right?
Oh yeah, lots of plastic tanks. I use a lot of what are they? Like buckets from Home Depot. There's those orange buckets with lids. I use those for my dyes and a few other things. You also need what is it? You need some way to finish your metal, right? So you have to be able to put an even satin finish on it or be able to polish it in some way. So what I had to do is I had to get a buffing wheel and actually buy all of the like the polishing wheel, the polishing compounds. You have to get all of that stuff because 90% of the finish, like the quality of the finish, is in the prep work. So you have to have. You can't just like pull a piece of sheet metal or sheet aluminum that you bought online, cut something into it and throw it in to be anodized. It's going to look terrible because it's just not even. So yeah, a lot of the time and a lot of the effort goes into that surface prep. But yeah, it all adds up to like $700-800 to get a pretty small setup. And as you get more dyes, obviously the cost increases. Eventually, you might want to expand your tank like we have. We've done it twice now. We had a tiny little 5-gallon bucket, and then we upgraded to like a 7 or 8-gallon tank. And then eventually we got our 25-gallon monstrosity that's posted in the forums. But yeah, every time you upgrade, every time you have to buy new chemicals, it hits your wallet. But you get a lot of runs out of each batch of chemicals. Like you could probably get, I don't know, 100 runs out of my current setup before I'd have to spend, $50 or whatever to buy new sulfuric acid.
So it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious when like the chemicals are wearing out that you need to replace them.
Yeah, so you start to see like inconsistencies in your anodize, and sometimes like the bath will get cloudy or it'll turn yellow or something like that. It just depends how much impurities there are in the tank. So if you put like iron or something that's not lead, titanium, or aluminum inside of that bath, you will ruin your bath really, really quickly. And I actually secured something in there with a steel bolt once, and I completely ruined the bath, and I had to replace the chemicals immediately. I couldn't get a good result after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you do for ventilation?
I have a stovetop, one of those stovetop things right above the tank, and I put a 400 CFM inline duct fan, and I have that duct out of the garage door. Actually, I have like a little cutout for one of the windows in the garage door, and I just hook the pipe right up to that, and it just vents everything straight out.
So what about disposing of chemicals? How do you go about that? I'm in California, so that's probably not even an option for me.
Yeah, so we haven't actually we've got a 50-gallon drum, like a plastic drum that we just empty our chemicals into. We haven't actually had to drop it off anywhere yet.
Well, can't you also take your sulfuric acid mix and add enough
Bicarb.
base to it so that and turn it neutral and everything else so that
Yeah, so you can get
not as
baking soda.
environmentally dangerous.
You could, but I mean, I just haven't done it. We've got like 4 or 5 55-gallon plastic drums. Figured just fill it up, pour it right in. Worst case scenario, okay, fine, I'll crack a big box of baking soda right into it. That'll clean it right up. But yeah, I mean, you could do it like that, but we just haven't had the need to. We don't deal with hundreds of gallons of sulfuric.
On the x-carves, of course, the maker slide, a lot of it in the standard 1 meter and 500 millimeter lengths from Inventables is anodized, all right. But all the steel work is powder coated, and of course you can't anodize steel work, all right. But in John's case, where he had those aluminum end plates made, and I'm going to make some myself, it would also be possible to powder coat aluminum, probably at a less expense initially, wouldn't you say, Eric?
Yeah, probably. Powder coating, from what I understand, is just a technique to painting, right? And then you bake the parts afterwards.
Well, we'll ask the expert, Andrew.
Yeah, the way it works is you basically blow a dry powdered paint through an electric charge, which causes it to adhere to the metal. Basically, you're basically making a static electric charge to the paint particles, this dry paint dust, and then it hits the metal, and because it's metal, that's also part of the circuit, so it makes it, you have to clip it. Anyway, so you're static electrically charging your powder. It adheres to the metal because of that charge, and then you put it in a 400-degree oven, 450, whatever, for X number of time until that melts, and then it re-solidifies onto the metal. To your earlier statement, because I used to do a lot of metal painting, powder coating, and then I did wet paint. It's the devil's in the details. You have to prep the surface properly first, make sure it's clean, make sure there's no debris or residue present. John's been touching his aluminum piece. He's been touching the aluminum end plate, so the oils from your hands are going to be detrimental to your finish, all that kind of fun stuff, so you'll need to give it a good bath. For something that small, probably dish soap and water would be fine. Make sure that it's 100% clean afterwards. You'll want to use gloves, that sort of thing. But the devil's in the details when you're painting metal. You could even paint it with a rattle can. You just need to make sure that you have a really quality self-etching primer. You also want to prep the surface with some Scotch-Brite. Make sure it's good and clean after you give the surface give the paint something to bite into. Self-etching primer, good amount of that. Make sure it's cured really well. Give it overnight. Hit it with a couple coats of something else, and then you're fine. So technically, you could paint with a rattle can. I've actually got a project, and Eric, you'll appreciate this. Let me get the pictures up real quick. But got a project that I built, a PC that I built, and this PC is painted with a rattle can. See if I can get the. I've got it on Imgur, whatever it's called. Let me sign in real quick.
While we're waiting, one thing to keep in mind about powder versus anodizing. Anodizing is a zero-sum process. You're not adding or removing to the thickness of the material.
Right.
When everything goes correctly. Obviously, with the powder, you're adding thickness.
So what's the difference between a hard anodize and non-hard? Because they talk about that with the with the maker slide being soft anodized or whatever they call it, and not hard anodized, so you shouldn't use like steel wheels on it or something?
Well, hard coat is it's used a lot in like weatherproofing, not really weatherproofing, but like maybe marine parts and stuff. It holds up a lot better to salt water and other chemicals than a standard clear or standard anodized does.
What I do is I do hard anodizing for all of my stuff. It's the main benefit that like people want when they're doing paintball guns is to reduce scratches, and you need the hard anodize to do that.
And is that just done through increased current voltage?
I think it's the techniques that you use. So because I use a sulfuric acid bath that is a particular mix, and I use a certain amount of voltage, then that's the quote unquote hard anodized.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
interesting.
I posted the link, but I did the side panel window with the x-carve. But that case it's an aluminum. It's a $40 aluminum PC case. It came black anodized. All the side panels are aluminum, with the exception of the rear panel, which is steel, which I didn't paint. All of the side panels are painted with a rattle can and were polished to a mirror shine. And then, yeah, there's actually a picture in there with the case when it was brand new. There's actually more money in the paint and the materials than the cost of the case itself. It was about $60 or $70 for materials to paint the case. So the case itself's worth about $150 before the actual time and effort that I put into it.
I've run into that out here. I'll have a part that I want to. Well, the bandsaw you see behind me, that's a rattle can paint job, and I probably should have taken it and had it. It would have been cheaper for me to have it powder coated. Actually, out here, I can have powder coating done at a place called R.W. Little for pretty reasonable compared to. I mean, by the time you buy 15 cans of rattle can paint and 15 cans of primer, not so cheap anymore.
Not at Ace prices, that's for sure.
Yeah, no.
Have you looked into?
Hey, anybody a smoker on the forum? We were in Walmart and a guy bought a pack of cigarettes, paid over $9 for a pack of cigarettes. I couldn't believe it.
Well, I used to be a
trivia.
smoker. I used to be a smoker. About a year ago, I quit. Smoked for 15 years or whatever, and I quit. I had the opportunity to go to Canada on a business trip, and just to give you a perspective, a pack of cigarettes in South Carolina runs somewhere between $4 and $6 depending on brand. Somewhere in that's a ballpark. In Canada, the average pack of cigarettes is $12+.
Nice.
That sounds like downtown Chicago.
Yeah, they're $12, $13 a pack. Of course, you get 25 in the Canadian packs, and you only get 20 in the U.S. packs. But that's still like a $5 difference. So, but it was just something interesting, and I made a decision to quit smoking. My wife was harassing me about it, and it's interesting that since I quit, whenever I get around cigarettes, I'm like, I used to do that, and that smells horrible. So that's just kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, cigarettes are expensive for the sake of being expensive, and for no other reason.
For the tobacco companies to make billions.
Kind of like petroleum, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, well. So, well, it sounds like anodizing is not real difficult to do. It does take some time and care and everything else to do it correctly, and I imagine you can do a shitty job of it really easy.
Oh yeah, it's very easy. Trust me.
But if you want to have a product that if you're going to sell it, will sell, and people will talk to other people about, and so you sell more of them, especially in the paintball fraternities. You know, those guys are together every weekend trying to kill each other.
Yeah, I used to play paintball. It is a hell of a lot of fun. It's not the cheapest hobby to get into. Of course, I think we can all agree with expensive hobbies. But paintball is a hell of a lot of fun. And if you have something that you've created that is high quality and you know a really good thing, the fraternity will
knock
be
your
on
door
board
down.
with you.
Yeah.
John, what do you got there?
Well, my oldest son and I kind of have gotten into airsoft.
Oh, okay.
And
You can get yourself killed walking down the street with one of those.
You wouldn't walk down the street with this. Yeah, it feels real in just about every way.
Oh,
He's got a
Hold
saw.
on, I've got one too.
He's got 5 or 6 guns. And there's no bones about it. Airsoft is so much more fun than paintball.
The old X7. I used to have one of those.
You got talks
like
with
Eves has a.
It's a Titman A5.
Oh yeah,
it's an A5.
Yeah.
Nice.
Airsoft or paintball?
No, this is paintball. I actually made the silencer on it, and it actually works.
Nice.
Oh,
That's the A5 with the A5 with the cyclone feed upgrade, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And it has the response trigger on it too.
Nice.
Does everyone have airsoft guns or something?
No, this is paintball.
I used to have a paintball gun.
Yeah,
I've seen the Wells.
I've had this thing for like 4, maybe 5 years, and I haven't shot it in like 3, so it's probably not gonna shoot.
Just run outside and wave it around. Somebody will shoot at you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just get right on that.
Yeah.
So this is the saw.
Jesus.
Oh wow.
Jeez.
This one is actually high pressure air HPA. It runs out up about 90 psi. It's incredibly fast. It's pretty incredible.
It's
This
pneumatically
thing is just a
powered?
blast to shoot. What's that?
It's pneumatically powered instead of electrically.
Well, so it has a little battery in there that does. I'm not exactly sure on this one, but yeah, it's got a little solenoid in it. But it's basically up in the piston that runs the piston. It's got a solenoid up there. But yeah, it runs off of high pressure air. There are I don't have one handy, but there are these little teeny cans that high pressure air cans that hold about 3,000 psi. Well, it's similar to the cans that use for paintball,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Those they use them for airbrush and stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it's just a little. The cans he has are about this big, and his are carbon fiber ones that he bought for
Yeah,
the
that's
stuff he's using.
nitrous.
Aluminum carbon fiber.
Yeah. But it's so much fun. You don't come home all full of paint, which is what I really like.
Or welts.
Oh no, you still come home
you
with
get
especially if your mask is like right here and there's a little gap right here. The BBs always find their way right here.
Yeah, I've gotten
Or at the bridge of the nose.
I've gotten crowned a couple of times with a paintball, and let me tell you, catching one right across the top of the head, that's instant headache time.
I like
There's a lot of places
Mythbusters when they were shooting paintballs at each other.
Well, let's put it to you this way: it's not enough to make you not want to go back out, but it's definitely enough to make you not want to get hit again. There's definite incentive there. The pain is a definite incentive.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Duck faster.
Yeah, you
there's
learn to duck and dive.
Just don't get hit by lips.
There's a group runs out of Los Angeles that's run by 2 former Navy SEALs, and they have 2 different camps that you can do with them, and it's all airsoft. One of them is ground-based, and they kind of teach you SEAL, ground maneuvers, attacking targets, that sort of thing. The other one they do, and the other one is $1,500 a person. They take you out on a helicopter. They drop you, a mile from Catalina with a boat, a rubber dinghy, right? And you have to jump off the helicopter into the water, into the boat, paddle into shore and make an assault. You've got a mission that they do, and it's $1,500 a pop to do that. I've never done that. That'd be unbelievable, though.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
And expensive, yeah.
No. I can buy a lot of milling tools for $1,500. Sorry.
Yeah, that's my philosophy. Yeah, there's too many other things I want to do, but I thought it was fun. It's a sport that you can take as far as you want. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few friends who only played airsoft for the military simulator experience.
There's a whole group. There's for airsoft, probably paintball too, but for airsoft, there's groups that are nothing but Vietnam era sims. So everything they do is all their costume, everything they wear is all Vietnam era. There's pretty much every era you can imagine, and they all have their own little meetups. There's a lot of stuff that goes on up in the Seattle area, Dave, with this stuff.
Good. Keep in the Seattle area.
So, Eves, I'm dying to know how your progress is coming. Eric, for your benefit, Eve has been working on trying to get Linux CNC working. Dave runs Linux CNC on his Tormach, and he's going to run Linux CNC on his x-carve. I do as well. I never actually. I think I had the Gerbil stuff running for about 15 minutes. It was never my intention to run that. I always just wanted to run Linux CNC from the beginning, so that's kind of what I kind of migrated to. But I think we've kind of convinced Eves to take a look at it too, and I know he's been struggling over the last few days. He bought a breakout board. So with Linux CNC, typically it runs on a parallel port, and then the parallel port goes to this little card that breaks all the pins out of that parallel port to drive your stepper motor, pulse, your step generation, direction, all that kind of stuff. Then it goes to drivers from there. And Eve found a breakout board on Amazon and posted it, and I kind of briefly looked at it, and it looked fine to me, but he got it, and it has some proprietary features for Mach 3, and getting it to work in Linux CNC has been problematic. So I think he was working on getting a PC in his garage hitched up to his x-carve with Mach. So I'm just kind of curious to see if he's had any success. But
yes, Shipoko 3.
Shipoko 3. Okay.
Shipoko 2. Sorry, not even.
Okay.
So yes, I have all the drivers hooked up. I didn't power it up because it's going to be really loud in here.
Hey, you got mute?
Yeah, I have. So the issue I'm having now, for some reason, X is not working correctly. But let me rewind to kind of reiterate what was going on. So yeah, I bought this breakout board on Amazon. I thought it would work with Linux CNC because it had a standard parallel port on the end. I saw the USB port, but I figured it was probably for power, just like the other breakout boards. But apparently this was geared specifically for Mach 3. I quickly found out that USB port is used for all the input signals. And I also found out that the USB port is treated as a virtual parallel port. So I got all the steppers working. I got one end stop working, technically.
Real quick, sorry to hijack. This may be for John. Yves, you may be able to answer this too. Will Linux CNC play nice with virtual serials?
No.
The USB to serial whatevers.
No, it has to be physical.
Okay, that was just the question. Carry on.
Yeah, because I was thinking about doing that too for testing the other day. Was run a virtual machine and do all this, but it doesn't play well.
I've seen a lot of USB to serial or USB to parallel port where it does it's got a chip and basically inside the adapter, and it goes from parallel port to USB. But I'm assuming that's a no-go either.
No, the only way you can circumvent that I found is using an Arduino in place of a air quote parallel port, because there's a HAL, not a device, but configuration for that.
Okay.
Otherwise, with the breakout boards, no, they have to be physical.
Okay, it was just a question.
The problem comes in with is the real-time kernel and the USB port. There's too much latency involved.
Okay. Continue, Eves.
Lost track of where I was.
Sorry.
You're too young to do that.
No, basically I'm troubleshooting this. I got it completely working with Mach 3. The machine that he was referring to is sitting right in front of me right now. X is stepping differently from the other steppers, which is weird because they're identical drivers. The configuration is the same. I just quickly put tiny G back in just to make sure I didn't blow something up, and it works fine. So I'm assuming something is set different, or maybe it's not the pin I think it is. I'm not sure yet. I haven't gotten to spindle control, vacuum control, coolant control, but I'm getting there.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad. I was hoping you were going to have some success.
Well, I mean, the board was designed for Mach 3, so it's working with Mach 3. The end goal was Linux CNC. So, yeah, like I was telling you earlier, and for people playing along at home, it was weird because we got Linux CNC on a machine yesterday. I connected the board to it. It saw it, but the pins looked weird. Instead of having numbers, it had hexadecimal values. So I had no idea what was what. This morning, when I connected it to Mach 3, since it had the proper plug-in for it, it saw the board and identified all the pins to the exact ID number that's silkscreened onto the board. So the idea is go ahead and finish the Mach 3 setup, and the Linux CNC partition is on the same exact machine sitting in front of me. Once I get it all wired up, switch over to Linux CNC, and then just kind of, okay, I'm going to just test an end stop and see where it thinks it is, and then go from there. At least that way I'll know the board is working and it's connected correctly. I'll just have to kind of figure out what port is where, or what pin is where. So there's still a possibility of just troubleshooting.
Yeah, but it is in Mach 3. It is jogging. You can jog all 3 axes.
1.5 axes right now because X is doing something weird.
It's not jogging.
Well, it's jogging, but then it's making this high-pitched kind of buzzing sound, and it's jerking forward and reverse as. Like if I tell it to go positive one direction, it's doing this pulse back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. It's kind of a weird. It's not like the step generation thing is weird or wrong. It's almost acting like it's not wired correctly.
Okay, and you've got A positive and A negative and B positive and B negative for the stepper coils configured the way they're supposed to be. Okay.
Like I said earlier, I reverted back to tiny G, and everything works correctly. So the wiring's right, the driver's right. Something in Mach 3 is not right.
Okay. Okay. And have you gone into motor configurations in Mach 3 and looked at the at that axis for stepper and all that good stuff?
Yeah, all 5 drivers are identical. I basically cookie cut, aside obviously what axes it is, I cookie cut the configuration all the way across the board.
Okay.
So why is that particular one X? Well, what I could do is actually pull out the. That's what I will do. I'll pull out the cables that's going from X to the board and put it in Z temporarily, and then move it and see if it does the same thing. If it does the same thing, then it's definitely Mach 3 that's screwing up. I think I will do that next. What's weird is the rotary works. Like the axes I really don't need right now, and Y1, Y2 is working, but X is kind of a problem for now. But I will figure it out. It will be done.
Awesome.
But you know the part that's really weird is that I had a Raspberry Pi and it was all happy and it was working, and then I went this route, and I guess I'm a gluttony for punishment. I could have just went back that way, I guess.
So what were you using for the parallel port on the Pi?
I was just doing it direct to the GPIO. So basically I took a standard parallel port cable, cut the end off, toned out 2 pins, and then plugged it in directly into the GPIO in the Pi.
Oh, nice.
Talking Greek again.
So, and I still have the 2 BeagleBone Blacks too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, we ultimately want to get machine kit on those. So.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna get that board, that cape that you got, instead of doing what I was gonna do. Which I may do that anyway, only because it'll break out everything. I don't know if that board that you got breaks out everything, I think it breaks out what it needs to drive 5 axes, if I remember it correctly.
Yeah, well, so the first port, the port that's actually on the, that's actually
the Centronics port. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is actually like all the normal ports, and then it has the header on there that you can put an extra cable on.
That's
and
right.
That has a lot of extra ports. Yeah.
IDC header. Yep. Okay, so yeah, there's 2 models. There's one without the header and one with the header. Okay.
Yep. I almost got the one without the header and thought I could just solder it on, but it also looks like there's some chips that if you look at where that header is, there's a couple of ICs. There's some ICs there. So, yeah. I didn't figure it would have been too hard, but I just figured, be done with it and order it. So, Eric, for your benefit, so we're talking Linux CNC here, but there's a fork of Linux CNC up on GitHub called MachineKit. And MachineKit is, I'm not exactly sure who's all involved with it, but it's a fork of Linux CNC to make it a little bit more portable so that you could do apt-get install MachineKit, right? Versus in Linux world anyway. Versus right now, you can't do, by default, you could not go to Ubuntu and say apt-get install Linux CNC because there's so many other things that have to play in that. You almost have to recompile. You have to compile Linux CNC for each installation. So Linux CNC typically comes as a distro that you just install, and it has Linux CNC already on it, and you just run it that way. MachineKit aims to fix that and add portability. So, for instance, it's running on the BeagleBone Black platform, the Raspberry Pi. So it's kind of fun that way.
It makes it more of an application, and it is a suite, but it makes it more of that package. It's like you don't have to buy a computer with it pre-installed. You can just, I have a computer, and I can just download and install that instead of doing all this other song and dance to it. So it just,
I wouldn't say an application. I would say more like an appliance.
Maybe that was the wrong terminology, but currently, if you want Linux CNC, you download it as a distro and you install the whole thing on a blank system. With MachineKit, if let's say you have a Linux computer or you have a spare computer or a Raspberry Pi 2, BeagleBone Black, whatever, you can just say, I want to add value to what I already have. I'm just going to put MachineKit on there. You can do that, and it kind of takes some steps away from it.
Have you guys actually used MachineKit?
I haven't actually made my machine move with it, but I have it running on. I have Linux CNC on this drive with MachineKit on it, and it works. I mean, I actually just compiled MachineKit from source, and it worked. I mean, it worked pretty much right away.
I had a computer that had MachineKit on there, and it was functioning as well. So.
It would be a nice option for Inventables to have. If they could, if MachineKit gets more mature, to sell a Linux CNC installed, pre-configured BeagleBone Black with Linux CNC and a board that you could, the stepper driver board, something on there, all sort of as a package deal. That would be a nice second package, sort of an alternative to Gerbil.
Aren't they going that route? Because they made a breakout board for the Arduino Uno that has a Centronics port on it for the TB6000s. They had a quick blurb about it on Google Plus a while back, but I haven't seen anything since about that.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Well, maybe. I mean, it would be nice. It would be.
Well, I know that. Like with my statement earlier, I know that easel is very much their ace in the hole, and that's a direct communication with the Gerbil Shield. So if they were to fork from that, then yes, community-wise, that would be great, but it may not be a direction that they want to wholeheartedly take advantage of because it's going to detract from their baby, so to speak.
Honestly, the route I would like to see is like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Octoprint, but Octoprint is basically a standalone service or software that you run on a Raspberry Pi or any type of small ARM-based single chip computer, and you connect it to a 3D printer, and it acts as a standalone controller, right? You could connect to it via a web page, sling G-code to it, see the stats. When it's done, it's done. It'd be nice if they could do something with easel where it could run on something like a Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone Black, insert single single chip type portable device, and then you could connect it to an x-carve or any other open source type CNC machine, and it would be a standalone unit that you can connect to wirelessly or wired, do whatever you need to do, and then kind of walk away.
You could even make it like an appliance where you can. All right, I've got easel open on my desktop, and then I've got this networked appliance hooked into my G Shield through whatever USB, whatever, and then you can go easel connect to my device 123, and then send G code to it that way. That would be convenient.
Yeah, it's interesting because easel and Chili Pepper are at the same point of it's a service that runs in the cloud, but it kind of sets itself apart in a sense that not everybody has internet connectivity in their garage, specifically for something like a CNC, right? I mean, if it's a 3D printer, that's okay because that's going to be in your house somewhere, but, I mean, like, for example, my garage is a detached garage. It's not even near the house. So I had to kind of do some Cisco ninjery to get, a bridge between the house network and out here for this to work. And, I'm a big fan of, I can come out to the garage, I can either upload it via, USB key, or I have a stable enough connection to just sling the G code over to it, but controlling the machine and whatnot, I would like to happen as a standalone at the device type, solution versus in the cloud. I mean,
yeah,
easel in the cloud is great in a sense that I could be in my office and I could look at the status or use that connection to design something. But when I send it to the machine, I don't want to have the machine have to have an internet connection, in order for it to work.
Yeah. On that note, I know that in my my research into 3D printers, there's quite a few options out there that have the micro SD card slot where you can run 3D print jobs that you've already precompiled in Slicer and stuff. So you've got the G code, drop them on an SD card, plug it into the gizmo on the gizmo, SD card slot, so on and so forth. That would be an interesting accessory type thing for the x-carve. LCD screen, jog wheel, click in, go. Kind of a thing.
Sort of switching it over to be more standalone.
Yeah.
In some cases, yeah. And once again, it's only catering to the folks that where their machine is, it does not have a network connection of some kind.
Right. Well, and that wouldn't detract from the easel cloud. It wouldn't detract from that. It would be an additional feature. It wouldn't be, well, I have a standalone x-carve that is not network compatible or that's not PC compatible or whatever, computer compatible, and then you have it wouldn't be two separate things. It would be like a shield that you plug on top or whatever, and just give you that breakout, give you that option.
Well, okay, here's a better type of, solution / problem. So let's just say like an easel light, right? An easel light that basically operates localized with a Raspberry Pi or anything like that that's directly connected to the Gerbil, or just say the Arduino Uno. And let's say, okay, I design it with easel cloud, but then I could send that job locally in my network to the x-carve or Shapoco or any DIY CNC directly to that device. And then, go ahead.
I was going to say, you can export the G code from easel to create that local connection, and I had to do that for a little while I was starting to get my stuff set up. I know that you can export the G code straight from easel to a file and then sneaker net it wherever.
Yeah, but it kind of disassociates yourself with easel, right? I'm trying to provide a solution where it's easel all the way, which kind of sounds weird, but you know what I mean. They basically provide you a method of, design the thing, create the G code for the thing, and then take the G code for the thing and then send it to an Inventables device, right? All in one fatal swoop using a browser. And then if I want to see the status of the device, then I can kind of look at it and see, oh, this is where it's at, this is how much where it needs to go, if I need to jog it or home it or whatever, that's fine. But to do that now, you need to run a air quote plug-in or whatever that runs locally in your machine, and easel's talking to that device locally through the machine you're viewing whatever you just designed, right? It's not like you can control it remotely, per se. It's not like I could be in my office and then send something out to the machine out here.
Well, I know that there's a lot of people that are crying. I say crying. They're very enthusiastic about some sort of a standalone solution. A lot of us started out, like I started out using UGS. I still use UGS a lot. Chili pepper, stuff like that. I know that I think Paul had some posts about easel being able to import G-code, similar to what Chili Pepper does. Well, it's what all Chili Pepper does, but making it more like Chili Pepper in the stance that it can import the G-code that's generated somewhere else. But I know there's a lot of people that could have great benefit to something like, the standalone x-carve that doesn't require a network connection, that has a little LCD screen where you can just say, I want to run job 1, 2, 3, go, or be able to control the machine from a little small breakout board using a pendant or whatever controller locally. There is great benefit in that as a additional accessories. Hey, you can buy an x-carve, put it together, and do it just like they do now, or for $100 more or $50 more or whatever, you can buy this other thing that you plug into the x-carve kit that adds value. It's an add value sort of upgrade.
So what's interesting is when I first heard about the X controller, I kind of thought that's what that was, but really
I think that's just more of a simplified or a more clean stepper motor driver all-in-one board. That's kind of what it looked like when I saw the inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, basically it has the PWM circuit for a spindle. It has the power supplies, plural. I think it has 2. And then basically a better breakout board with stepper drivers. So basically a bunch of TD6000s on a board.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a spaghetti monster when you're done with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like mine looks like a big ball of wires. Because that's the way it's designed. You go from here to there, and with wires, then you go from there, and then you go like 15 wires that come out this way, and that's just the way it was designed, and that's fine. But I think the X controller is a much more streamlined, a much better way to accomplish the same goal, much more cleanly. And as Inventables matures, and as the x-carve matures, and as all of these things mature, I feel like we're going to see newer, better, faster, more feature-rich x-carve controller circuitry. Arduino Shields, BeagleBone Black, Raspberry Pi. I have a feeling that in the spirit of everything that they've done so far, they would go that route. I mean, I don't know. But
I mean, really, there's no any additional hardware per se, aside from like a Raspberry Pi. It would be software.
Yeah.
So if they provided an endpoint for Raspberry Pi, then you could kind of do something like that.
Well, technically, you can run easel on a Raspberry Pi. You just got to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and T's crossed. You can do it.
Yeah,
Or so on the Raspberry Pi 2.
Easel is not open source in any way, right? It's completely closed source.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. See, and that's not something a community can help, because if the source code was out there, then somebody could make it portable or lightweight.
I read somewhere that they were looking into building, and maybe this is the plugin environment that they're building now. I don't know that there's going to be an SDK for that. Eric, can you even speak on that? I know that, like I said,
I don't have any details.
Okay.
To be honest.
But
I've only been there a week, and I'm an intern, so I don't even have a huge handle on the code base as it is.
You're just a redheaded stepchild, then, aren't you?
I guess.
Well, yeah, but like I said, I read somewhere that they were doing something with plugins or something, and that may be these features that they're adding internally. I don't know that they're going to make an open source environment, an SDK environment for building stuff, but.
Well, that's the API, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they somehow if we somehow integrated a Raspberry Pi or something into the X controller and just have it as a complete standalone unit to run easel off of.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I meant.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant have it separate and connected up, but it'd actually be kind of better if it was just all wrapped up into one.
Yeah, I mean, basically, okay, so there's two folds to that, right? I guess you could use the easel in the cloud to do your designing, but the easel that I'm referring to control the machine would be basically a GUI so you can see what's going on, what status it's at, so you could see graphically, okay, this is the point it's at, and this is what I'm doing, and then do things like, okay, well, this is the bit I'm using, this is the feed rates I want, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's running on that, we'll just say Raspberry Pi, locally to the machine versus how it is today, where it's really a web page talking to a plugin that's then in turn talking to the easel, or not easel, x-carve / Shapoco that's connected locally to that one machine.
Yeah, that is something that I think it could be done. Whether or not we're willing to do it, I have no idea, but I think it's possible with what we have now.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and to everybody's point, these are all add value suggestions. The machine obviously works fine the way it is, but these would be some very interesting, useful, and potentially extremely beneficial advanced user upgrades to the machine. But anyway.
So right now you could import G-code from other things into easel? I haven't tried it.
Not right now.
No, they're talking. Paul made there's a post on the Inventables forum where they were asking, they were crowdsourcing.
Feature requests, right?
Yeah, it was a feature request, and that got broken out into its own thread. I think Paul was the guy's name, but anyway, it was broken out into its own feature request. It got its own subthread or whatever. So it sounds like they're interested in potentially making that a availability, but there was nothing concrete. And Eric, I don't know, you can speak on that one way or the other, but
I'm just not sure if I can give any details.
Yeah, they did say they wanted to add it. They were asking people how it should work.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Tony, are you on that thread too? I know I posted some stuff on there.
No, I haven't chimed in yet because I'm still trying to get comfortable with chili pepper.
I got you.
I hear people talking about chili pepper. Is chili pepper just an interpreter that sends direction and steps to drivers?
It's just dumping G-code.
Yes.
It's a UGS alternative, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's very much a universal G-code sender alternative.
With a GUI.
Yeah, it's got a GUI. It's a web-based only thing. There's no local option for it. It does have some interesting little things that it can do, like self-leveling the table. It can figure that stuff out. It can do probes. It can do quite a lot of different things. There is a latency thing in there due to you're running it on a web page and you're trying to do it on your local computer, so there's a service that you have to download, install, and run to make everything kind of talk.
Yeah, the JP.
Yeah.
It's a JSON server.
Yeah,
the JSON server.
I mean, it's not really a latency thing. The biggest problem I had when I was running Chili Pepper is that it would, I guess, I don't know how many lines it buffers when it actually initially sends the job. And the wireless out here is not crappy, but it'll do, let's say, 2,000 lines, and instead of like refilling the buffer, it would stop. I don't know if the socket just drops or whatever, but the thing that concerns me is that I'm cutting something and the spindle is in whatever it's cutting hot, just sitting there, not doing anything, and there's no alert to me that this has happened at all. So I'll go in the house, come back in the garage, and I'm like, oh, that sounds like nothing, and I come over here and it's just sitting there, full power, not moving.
Yeah, I get a lot of problems with UGS as well, where it seems like some rows just don't get sent, or cut or anything. It's like it skipped it or something, and then you
Yeah.
look at the actual result afterwards, and it's like, oh, there's a line going through the entire cut, probably because it didn't, move over the extra, quarter millimeter or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's kind
I
of
see
the
a lot
reason
of
why.
complaints in the forums about it. UGS.
The problem
Yeah,
is that
I don't
there's
think
really
there's
no
a-
other option, right?
Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah, it's you either use easel, chili pepper, UGS, or you suck it up and you go Mach 3 Linux CNC. I mean, it's two camps.
And
I mean,
pay
there's
out
no
the
middle
nose at
ground.
the same time.
Yeah, it's
Do what?
interesting. Oh, go ahead.
You
was
just
that?
you just bleed money if you try to go, Linux, and you try and convert to Linux or Mach.
Yeah,
No, you don't. No, you don't.
It's
Well,
not
you
if you
terribly
don't,
use
people
expensive.
know how to do
drivers,
it.
don't you?
You can stepper motor drivers run you $20 a piece, give or take, depending on how crazy. If you want to go like what John did and go buy the most expensive thing you could find, to be fair, he got super high quality stepper motor drivers. They're exquisite.
I got them on surplus. So.
He got them on surplus, so he didn't pay the however much they normally run.
they're
But
expensive,
anyway,
man.
what's that?
Yeah, I'm sure they're $300 or $400 a pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you can get a breakout board and 3 stepper motor drivers, which is all you really have to have. 4 would probably be better.
The deal.
Would obviously be better. You can do all that for $100.
No, less than that.
150
Yeah,
bucks. I mean, and that's if you're buying the real nice stuff.
Yeah,
So,
or
I
you
thought
can
it was
go
a lot
with
more
a
expensive.
Gecko 540 at $299.
Yep.
You know,
And if you're
or
using
4
NEMA
axes.
17s, you can use the I'm gonna say the name wrong, but the Pololu drivers or whatever.
Hulu, yeah.
Hulu.
Yeah,
Pololu,
you can totally
yeah.
do that all day long.
Yeah. And they're only like $8 a pop.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's like the Sane Smart 2-in-1 board. Obviously, it wouldn't be a good fit for what we're talking about, but it's it's got the breakout board and the stepper stuff built into it. And I think you can get some of those. They're like Chinese or whatever for $200 or $150 or something. So it's not, in the greater scheme of things, it's not ridiculously expensive. Bleed money, quote unquote. Oh, here we go. But it's not a $5 or $10 upgrade. So
Yeah. So the link I
was
just
looking
posted.
at some of the stepper motors on the Inventables website and stuff, and I thought that's what you needed to upgrade, and they're pretty expensive, and I guess
There's a markup. The board I just posted, that's pretty much the minimal you'll need, but it's only 3 axes. And something like that you could connect directly to Linux CNC or Mach 3 if you didn't care about using external drivers, right? Now, once you jump into the world of external drivers, then obviously you need to get the drivers themselves and then something to interface with those drivers and whatnot.
I will warn people that these boards work really well, but a lot of these chips do not like to be unconnected from the stepper motor, and if you do, you will blow a driver. It's not impossible to replace drivers on these if you know somebody with some surface mount equipment. I've replaced a few chips on these boards for other people at a hackerspace before, but if you're running it and for whatever reason you unplug a stepper motor from it, you'll cook a driver on these things.
Well,
Not
Gecko
sure why.
says the same thing. Gecko
yeah?
says, do not unplug stepper motors with system powered up.
Yeah.
You will blow a driver or drivers. So, yeah.
At the end of the day, that's bare minimal right there.
Yeah. That's an excellent price. Yeah, that's cool.
And that would probably, 3.5 amps, so you could get some pretty decent NEMA 23s with that.
See, Anthony, Andrew, that's all you would need, and you wouldn't even need the breakout board because that's got the parallel port built into it.
Yeah, and that's using the I gotta click link. That's using the TB6560s.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I think is the same one that I was looking at, except I was looking at the TB6560 standalones. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, I think that's the same. those are the same stepper motor drivers I was looking at using, except they're standalone, not on board, not on a board.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm gonna dog ear that. Thanks, Eves. Because I've seen these quite a few times.
They're on
But
eBay a
I
lot
was
too.
like,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it had all of the goodies that I would need to get rocking and rolling. Does that have enough breakouts for?
And stops, no. This is a stepper motor driver only.
Okay. Okay. So if I want to do in stops, I'm gonna need a much bigger board.
No, that breakout that you have would work.
Okay. So I just have to run 2 parallel ports out.
John, I think so.
Actually, I'm not going to comment because I haven't read the directions on this board yet, and I want to read the manual first. I was just kind of looking at it. I think because I was actually just running that same thing too. I was wondering that.
Yeah, because I see a JST header for the pendant, and then there's another JST header for the pendant again. That's that DB25.
That's probably an LED header.
LED.
Yeah, a display header.
No. There's a pendant that comes with that. If you go further down, it includes one of those.
It does?
I think so.
Not for this price. Smart saying CNC. Let me just look up. 'Cause I've seen this board before with the I know exactly what you're talking about with the pendant and with all kinds of different stuff as kits. But I've also seen this one with a little LCD. This is the same kit.
Okay, it does have input. It does support some inputs, 4-input interface, limit stop, etc.
Yeah, you have to use that.
It's got a little Molenex connector on top of the board, right behind the interface. The little DB15.
Where's the? Here,
so the longer one. Okay, I see it.
Here, this is the same exact board. It's just in an aluminum housing, and it comes with like a jog panel, which would be a remote kind of a thing, and a little LCD screen, which would be for your XYZ positioning. The images are garbage, but
posted the manual.
Yeah, it just kind of shows you get, you've got extra stuff there.
Yeah, so that'd do everything for you, Andrew. You're from the computer right into that.
Mm-hmm. I'd have to get whatever that breakout is. It's like, or I'd have to wire a breakout board for the that Molenex plug.
That's going to be a pretty standard plug. I wonder if they tell. I have to look in the manual. They might tell us what connector that is.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's something that would the manual port. I'm sure that there's something that would hook up for that. But I think my point from earlier was I think those 2 breakouts. One of them is for an LCD, and one of them is for the pendant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the shorter 4-pinner is for end stops, and the larger DB15 is for a pendant. It's called Manual Interface Controller, MIC. Oh, it has a spindle controller built in too.
The MIC. Isn't that derogatory?
Maybe.
That's funny.
Are we on a politically correct Google Hangouts? Careful, Google might take us down if we're not politically correct. So it's just we'll all behave, I guess.
Oh, that is an end-all be-all because it has a spindle controller, basically on-off, has a relay built in, has X, Y, and Z, accepts 12 to 36 volts, has an onboard 5-volt regulator, and a 12-volt regulator. So I guess
everything.
Why would you need a 5 and a 12-volt regulator? What, for the LEDs? It has 3 LEDs on board. Maybe that's what that's for.
The 12-volt would also be nice if you were going to use inductive sensors, though.
I don't think so because these are inputs. It doesn't show really any outputs.
Oh yeah, so a guy could. Hmm.
So I don't know
There's
what
a
that's
12
about.
volt. Yeah, they
At
don't
any
break the
rate,
12 volts out, but that's a nice board.
yeah. Otherwise, yeah, that would be a one-stop shop if you are looking for, let's see, 4. So that's that's homing for all axes and an extra one. So I guess you would do Z min max and then home for everything else. Or however
Yeah,
you
and
want to do it.
Smart Stain's pretty good, or Stain Smart's pretty good about the documentation and stuff. Let's see, I'm on their website now.
Oh, it even gives you the Mach 3 and basic Linux CNC config stuff in here too.
That 15-pin manual interface connector breaks out all of the limits. Well, Z limit, Y limit. Do I see an X limit? No, that's odd.
Related but unrelated. So I noticed in Mach 3, it has X minus and then X minus minus and then X plus plus.
Is that a weird programming language that we don't know?
Yeah, it's
no, but and it's referring to that as the end stop. So I assume the X plus plus would be max. X min min or minus minus, is that what? 0?
probably X min. Yeah, your two extremes, min and max.
Okay.
Sound right, Dave? Can't hear you, Dave.
I can't do
Generally,
that.
when they talk about X's plus and minus, they're talking about directions, and also if you home in the X minus direction, and you also have a limit switch in the X minus direction, those switches can be a common switch. And then you put a switch in the X positive direction, and that switch is in series with the other switch. So when you reference the machine, the one switch is used to home or reference the machine, and then the next time you hit it, it's a limit switch. And then on the other end of the travel, that switch is a limit switch.
So wait a second. So there's no difference
with Y.
So there's no difference electrically between a min end stop and a max end stop?
Well, they're talking about if they put a negative or a positive beside it, it's a direction, I do believe.
Okay. Well, interesting, because when I did Tiny G, that's how this machine's configured. It has end stops, obviously, for homing and limit, and then there's another set that goes max. So if it tries to exceed the gantry size, it would immediately just, it's equivalent to an interlock, so it just stops the machine, kills the spindle, dead in its tracks. But that was considered a separate pin. I couldn't combine them.
Well, in Mach 3, you have 4 input pins. Generally, pins 1, 2, and 3 are for your combination of limit switch or homing switches and limit switches, and they're generally for X and Y. There are 2 switches, and you can configure either X positive or X negative to be either the homing switch, and then you tell it that you want to reference in the negative direction. All right. So no matter where the spindle is on the table, when you tell it to home, it will always go in the negative direction. All right. And until it hits the homing switch. And when it trips that, then it will then set machine 0, and the same thing with Y-axis. If you tell it that you want to home in the negative direction, it will travel in the negative direction until it trips that switch. And the Z, you always home to the positive direction going up. And generally speaking, there are no limit switches in Z negative, because you can wipe out a tool long before you reach a negative limit switch on your spindle. So they don't even bother with them. And then the other switch, of course, is in the positive direction. Does that make sense, folks? I guess by your silence, that's a yes.
I just got back, so I missed half of it.
Oh, we were just talking about limit switches and home switches, and the people at Inventables and all their instructions and everything else, and their sales have called the switches that they provide and are configured incorrectly. They are not limit switches. They, as configured, are homing or reference switches. They have no limit capabilities to them as they are configured in the standard configuration. And it's confusing a lot of people that think, I've got a limit switch, therefore if I tell the machine to go to the left, all the way to the left, and it hits that switch, that the machine is going to stop. Ain't going to happen. It's only going to happen when you hit the button that says reference X, reference Y, reference Z, or reference all.
No, I think that's a configuration, because on my laser I have Gerbil on there, and it does have limit switches and I guess what you call reference switches.
Yes,
that's how it's true.
That's how it's configured. So
is the flavor that Inventables using for Gerbil different?
No, I think it's just the default configuration.
Oh.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I'll probably talk to someone on Monday about that. See what the problem is.
So what is it? 0.9i is what you guys use?
J just came out.
But I mean, what's shipping? It's I think.
I think it's I, yeah.
Okay. That's weird. No, because I'm trying to remember. Did I have to change that? Because I think, no, I didn't have to change that. The only thing I had to change was the direction, because when I first said it was homing in the wrong direction.
Right. It was homing positive, and you wanted it to home negative, or vice versa.
But that was the only thing. But once I had the end stops, and those are the cheap little mechanical micro switches. Once it hit it, boom, it stopped. It shut the laser off and stopped dead in its tracks. But I'm not sure.
That's just the Gerbil configuration. You have to do that though. You update the mask for whether they're homing or limit switches, and then you recompile. But the way it's sent out by Inventables, it's homing switches.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, they're homing switches only, and they're using unshielded wire and noisy spindle motors. And so if you try and configure them as and they're configured as normally open switches versus normally closed, you can't configure two switches in a circuit as normally opens, and have each of them go to a common pin. You have to configure them as normally closed switches and put them in series, so that if either switch is tripped, it sends the signal to that pin, and your software says, oh, a switch was tripped, stop everything.
Yeah. You can't do two switches normally open, but you do need some sort of logic in between. There's this thing called a logic shifter, and the logic shifter, once it sees a pin go high or low, no matter which one it is, it'll repeat on the opposite end, high or low.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing with the inductive end stops, because for the min, since the gantry obviously is long, So I have 2 on each side for each axis, but on the logic end, if one trips, then it's equate to both tripping. So.
Right.
But obviously that's not the way they're doing it. They're just doing it straight out of the verbal shield, which that's just a pin on the Arduino. So.
Yeah. And but with the unshielded wire, the noisy spindle, when people change the configuration to a combination homing and limit, make the switch do 2 functions, they get all kinds of false positives, and the machine stops for no apparent reason, and everything else. So you've got to do some things in order to make limit switches work with your machine.
So I'm just putting one limit switch in sort of in the center of each axis. Well, it's not even a limit switch; it's the inductive sensor. So I've got one that it's kind of like. So there's one on the X carriage, and then I just put, like a metal bolt on either extreme end. X min, X max. I could even have one in the center if I wanted to have a home position. That way, I only need 3 inductive sensors as opposed to 1 at each end. And, makes it a lot simpler.
As long as those sensors can see those 2 plates independently, then you could do it that way.
Yep, and you can do that. That's easy in Linux CNC.
Yeah, and you could also put the bolt in the center so that it homes in the center. Because what happens once it homes, the controller software and everything else says, "Oh, I just went over the home switch and it tripped, but that was the home switch. That's not the limit switch." All right, because of where I'm at in the world. And then it continues on, and it gets to the end of its travel on either the X or the Y travel, and it trips the switch again, and the software says, "Oh, that is a limit position. I'll stop." And
never thought about putting one in the center. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, it makes it. I don't know if you could do something like that with a Gerbil or something, but with Linux CNC, you can. The configurations are endless. With that kind of stuff.
So in theory,
feedback real bad again. Oh no, we're feedback on somebody else.
Yeah, who's that?
Who's that?
Hello?
It's not me, is it?
No, you got headphones on. You got headphones. Huh? I don't know who it's feeding back on.
Is it feedbacking right now?
Doesn't feedback when you talk.
Oh.
No, it's not feeding back now. If somebody turned down their speakers, it's a little bit.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I still hear it. It's not Tony.
Yeah.
It's Dave.
It can't be me. I'm on headset.
But real quick, so homing in the center versus homing traditionally in the corner. So in Linux CNC, you could actually do that. You could say home reference 0 or versus home center, or homing is one way and it'll go in one direction and that's it.
Yeah, it'll only go in the direction for homing in one direction.
Well, you can set that, right? You can. Yeah, I think you can configure that.
Yeah, well, that would be one of the problems with homing in the center. I don't know if the software is smart enough to know that I'm positive of center or I'm negative of center.
Okay.
And
So
I have to.
It keeps track. So I can tell it. You have to tell it where the locations of these switches are. So you say, it's minus or plus. So in the config file, you have to give it a number as to where that limit switch or home switch is located.
Okay. So it's like tiny g. So in my case, because since the machine is large, I like to use the bed of the machine as as a workspace. So I created a temp home that's the back corner of the machine. So as long as the DRO is accurate, as in I didn't manually move it, it'll travel in that direction until it hits the max on both sides. So in theory, you're saying as long as
Yeah. So if I go into the Linux CNC config right now and I look at the inputs, like pin 10 input, I can have that. I could have that be Y home, Z home, A home. I could have it be min limit plus home X, max limit plus home X, both limit plus home X or AX, or, A whatever. I can have it be min limit X, max limit X, both limit X. The configurations are just
mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah. All limits plus home.
You're the echo, by the way.
I am?
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
That's it.
You were the echo.
Echo.
Echo, turn your speakers down or move your mic further away from your speakers.
He's
probably on a laptop.
Yeah,
move away from the mic to breathe in.
Is it still doing it now?
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. No, you've solved it.
Yeah.
I don't hear it.
So I guess it's software. What happens over time if I don't talk? It incrementally increases the gain, and then it starts hearing everything in the room.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's once you hit 9001, it gets a little choppy.
Yeah.
Hey, Eric, are you okay? I know you said you had to be somewhere at 6 your time. I just want to make sure you're still good.
5 minutes.
Okay. Anybody have questions for Eric? Let's get those out. Eric, I'd be really cool. I don't know if you're planning on doing any sort of maybe a blog post somewhere or just a tutorial on the anodizing would be really cool.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing a video actually for a long time now. I just haven't really gone through the planning stages yet. It's just more of a conceptual thing right now.
Well, now you have a job, you'll never be able to do it.
That's the thing, right? Like before a week ago, I was on summer break, and I had the time to do those things.
Nights and weekends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like me, 8 hours a day, and then I come home and I work another however long in my workshop trying to get that thing built. Once that gets done, definitely going to do many more videos, many more projects, try to get some social media stuff going. So hopefully I'm going to be the next big thing on YouTube, but I'm not holding my breath. I'm not going to be Linus Sebastian anytime soon.
But yeah, blog post would be that'd probably be a good first step, so that I can just sort of flush out the idea, and then if there's enough demand, make a video. Because the video is just so much more effort.
I can't talk well enough to do a video.
Do you have a website, Eric?
No, I don't.
Okay, I just curious. No worries. I was just wondering.
Yeah, I've been thinking of maybe making one just for the paintball stuff that I do.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work to make a good website.
Are you the same guy that does the auto cocker triggers? Because I saw somebody. You're that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, here I've got 2 right here.
Yeah.
Anodized and everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Nice.
he's the guy with the auto cocker triggers. I think John I think one of us had brought that video to the table at some point.
At some point, one of us did, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, you can see from tonight's exposure to this gang of renegades that we cover a gamut of subjects, and we try and help everybody in the discussions if they're having problems or and everything else. So. If you know anybody else that would like to join us on our Saturday hangouts,
that'd be awesome.
They're more than welcome to join and ask questions or provide help. Either one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or a combination of both.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be asking John a whole shit pot full of questions about Linux CNC when I get there. Believe me.
Hey, Eric, one quick thing before you go. x-carve, Inventables 3D printer. Thoughts?
You mean like converting an x-carve to a 3D printer?
Not necessarily converting an x-carve, but
the next machine.
The next machine.
Because the next machine right now is Carvey.
Oh yeah, we've got the x-carve. You got the x-carve in a box, and then which is the Carvey or whatever.
Carvey.
And then 3D printer. The X extrude, whatever. The X squirt.
X squirt.
I'm patenting that name right now. I'm gonna go squat.
Yeah. Get the domain name right now and go get it. Xsquirt.com. No, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there.
Triple X. Yeah. That's gonna be the one. That's the one to camp.
I'll be honest. I like Yves' his latest design thing for his little lathe style thing over the Carvey in a box.
I thought it funny was what his wife said about it, though.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a fresh pair of eyes to see something like that, you know.
But yeah, we had I think the last time we had a hangout, we had this huge discussion about 3D printers, and that's I think Tony, you have one, Yves I think has one, and I want to get one and or build one. I'm probably going to get one, and then I'll build a much bigger, more rigid one with the combination of upgraded x-carve and the 3D printer that I buy. But it would be interesting for Inventables to bring that into, with easel and everything else, to bring that into the
family.
One-stop shop, and hey, I want to be a maker. Okay, CNC, got that covered. 3D printer, got that covered. Software to drive everything, got that covered. That would be a cool kind of all-in-one camp.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably the next logical step. I know that a couple of the product guys at Inventables are big 3D printer guys, and actually, I've been to the Inventables workshop, like the one where they take all the pictures.
shop or whatever.
Yeah, the R&D shop. And they actually have like 3 3D printers down there, and they usually have something printing on it, most days.
I have some interesting ideas for 3D printers, and to be honest with you, a lot of them, the Maker Slide and that toolkit that comes along with the open builds, that open source Rails system, you can make all kinds of cool stuff with that. So,
not even limited to. There's that one machine, I think somebody linked it on the forums, that had like interchangeable Z-axis heads or something like that. And you could change it out for like a laser cutter head or like an airbrush head or all these crazy little things. And I think that would be a really, really cool direction to
absolutely. Go. Absolutely. Laser head would be an absolute insane accessory for an x-carve. You've already got the platform built. All you have to do is slap the gizmo on there and tell it run off, go cut something.
Except I want 40 watts.
Well, you get a really big one then.
You make that x-axis modification with the steel plate.
That's right. Really? You make it rigid as hell, and then you strap the generator to that thing and crank it up. But yeah, that would be an interesting thing to brain pick. I think all of us, we all come from different walks of life. We all have different skill sets. So it would be interesting. It would be interesting to chit chat with anyone who's willing or wants to chit chat about Inventables, 3D printer, whatever.
I think didn't Inventables sell a 3D printer a few years back or something? I thought they may have. I don't know. I could be wrong. It wasn't one of their own design. I think it was another one.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, that open rail system or whatever you want to call it, Maker Slide. There's 15 different names for the stuff, but it is one of the most versatile platforms that I've come across in quite some time. John, I showed you a picture of that thing from Open Builds, the linear slide end plate, and I was like, "Shut up and take my money."
Yeah.
It was compact, and it was a really, really well done design.
It's nice stuff.
But anyway, Eric, I know you got to head off. We're like 4 minutes over where what you wanted to do. So thank you so very much for joining. It was awesome. That was cool. Good stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'll warn you now, Eric. We talk often on the Google Hangout chat thing
Daily.
And unless you're gonna be surprised because your phone's gonna like explode. If you're logged into Google Hangouts on your phone, it's just gonna like bing 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 bing.
He's never gonna ever join us ever again.
I just wanted to give you that heads up now, so because I added you to our chat group, and so if you're on that on your phone or on your computer anywhere near you, it's going to be exploding with messages. So, FYI.
Yeah, I'll probably disable it on my phone.
Meet you guys. I'm gonna unfriend you on Google Plus.
I see.
No, Saturdays is fine. It's just I don't want it blown up on my phone.
Oh, yeah. I'll be in a staff meeting Monday morning, and his phone will go berserk, and it's that crazy Hangout, guys.
Oh, I love it when it goes off in a staff meeting. It gives me something to do.
That's why I told you. That's why I told you, Eric.
That's some marketing to do.
Yeah.
Gotta book it.
Yeah. I gotta take this. I'll be back in a little while.
Yeah.
2 hours later, he comes stumbling back in.
Well, thanks much, Eric. I'm gonna stick around for a little bit, guys. I don't know if everybody else is, but yeah, thanks for showing up. I look forward to reading more about your adventures on x-carve, and hopefully you'll be able to do some blog posts at work on the forums about the kind of stuff you're working on, whatever they let you talk about anyway. I'd love to see some of that stuff too,
Yeah, definitely. My next project, by the way, is to cut out some aluminum planetary gear sets and potentially convert that into one of those light switch things. I don't know if you guys have seen those planetary gear light switches. I've seen one of those.
It's like a Rube Goldberg machine, but with gears and for a light switch. You turn a crank for like 15 minutes and it turns the light on.
Yeah. I was thinking of trying to make one of those. Here, let me see if I can find a picture real quick.
I saw one of those.
It's like nothing boxes.
Oh yeah, it's like super steampunk, and it's like really, really cool looking.
Yeah, definitely. I've got the gears already laid out. I just have to do the test cuts and make sure that it actually works.
That's fun right there. My kid, I might have to. If you get that, make it if you can, and you're willing to. Hint. If you make that a project, I'll totally have to work that out because my kids would love that.
Yeah, I got it in easel right now. I just have to actually push the button.
If you also go to Gearotic, the program Gearotic.
That's where I got the SVGs to do this.
Yeah.
Is that open source, free, or is it pay to play?
Gearotic? Yeah, no, it's a paid program if you want the full blown one, but it's not very expensive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like $30, I think, something like that.
Not too bad.
Yeah, it's not very much money. I've got a copy of it.
Yeah, that's really cool. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a perfect application for a laser on the x-carve.
Yeah, it would. All right, well, thanks for having me, you guys.
All right,
guys. You bet. Thanks, Eric.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks, deuces.
That was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Now we don't have anything to talk about.
I was just looking at that Gearotic place. That's interesting too.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Gearotic was programmed by the same guy that originally built Mach 3, Art Flannery.
Oh, nice.
And
they even show helical gears. Ooh, that is cool.
They'll do helicals. They'll do miters. They'll do bevels. Now, miters and bevels take a lot of trickiness to make them. You can do spurs.
Knuckles.
You can do worm wheels. You can do gears that aren't non-round gears. You know.
Nice.
That's really cool. How much was that thing again?
You can do escapements. You can do.
120 bucks.
Christ.
They got more proud of that, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's okay. That's pretty cool though that you can just do all this. Does it give you the? Does it allow you to? It looks like it allows you to.
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like it allows you to test it before you.
Oh,
yeah.
Those elliptical gears on the right at the top are pretty trippy.
Yeah. Those are pretty sweet.
Wow.
I downloaded their test and everything and tried doing something, and it wouldn't. Of course, in the test, I don't think it would let me save it. And there's a guy in England named John Stevenson that has been working with art and all, and I contacted him, and he took the gear information that I gave him and generated the G code and sent me the G code for it, and I cut the 2 gears in plywood, 1/8 thick plywood. It just machined it, cut the gear teeth. You can also use 4th axis and cut, like you said, helical gears and spiral gears and spur gears, and I mean it's quite an amazing little program. If you're,
that's pretty cool. A guy could go broke just buying software for CNC.
Yeah. Isn't that the case?
Yeah, right. It seems like every time you want a little tool, it's like more money.
Oh yeah.
I had a Python program for doing gears that generates G code. I'll have to see if I still have that. That would be kind of cool. I've got a couple of Python programs, one for doing pocketing and other things.
Well, the nice thing about me and the avenue that I went, it's all a tax write-off.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
I mean, it's a business expense, so technically it's all a tax write-off.
That's where we all want to get
it. Yeah. I'm not trying to abuse it, but, I mean...
Yeah, probably every time you go to McDonald's, you call that a business lunch.
No, I don't go to McDonald's very often, but technically I probably could if I was on a business lunch. I have morals. But the x-carve was totally...
They're just not real solid morals, huh?
Oh, yeah. Clay. No, the x-carve was a tax write-off. I'm going to be using it for my business, and I'm going to be attempting to make money from it, so why not, right?
Exactly.
Well, I don't make enough money to pay taxes, so I don't need any write-offs.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yes, Tony, speak.
No?
Oh.
There you go. Now I hear you.
Yeah, your avatar came up, but...
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh. Well, you must have made enough noise that it popped your avatar up. Full screen for us.
What have you been working on, Tony?
Boy, what have I been working on? Well, I abandoned the drag knife until I can get the software side figured out.
I told you, Tony, I'd make you a steel shaft for it.
Yeah, no, it's the software. It's you got to put those radii in there, and.
So have you heard of this software for Inkscape? That people use Inkscape for drag knife a lot, and I wasn't quite aware of that. And there's apparently a few options for it.
Yeah, I think I looked into that. I remember reading that. I don't know if I downloaded the plugin or just kind of looked at some info. I don't recall where I left off with that.
I was just going to look here. It was somebody sent me. It was a program called InkCut. That's one of them. But there's also something called. Oh gosh, there was a bunch. Where is it? Yeah, ink cut was one. Yeah, I don't remember. Most of us use there's a program called Sign Cut. Sure Cuts a lot is another one. I thought that was creative.
I actually use I use Sure Cuts a lot for my Cricut, and I mean it
That is
works.
a vinyl. That is a vinyl cutter, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Mine's just specifically designed for vinyl. It works. So I can vouch for Sure Cuts a lot. It's not very feature rich. It's kind of It's not the best software in the world, but it's the only thing that I can get to make that Cricut actually run without having to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars for all of their little adapters and stuff. So I can actually serial tunnel into that and actually make it run. My next thing will be a Silhouette, which is it's a different vinyl plotter, but it's not a lockdown ecosystem. Basically, with a Cricut, you have to buy, in order to make it do anything, you have to buy their little cartridges. That's where they get you. Little cartridges are like $40-50 a pop. They come with
well, what's the cartridge do?
That particular cartridge. Hold on. That particular cartridge will let you print all of these fun little characters.
Oh, I see.
That's what they do. Yeah, that's how that works. But if you have the right version firmware and you have the right version Sure Cuts a lot, you don't have to worry about that anymore.
Nice.
It's a soft hack that actually has been corrected in newer firmware versions and newer versions of Sure Cuts a lot. So there's only one way to get the right version of Sure Cuts a lot to make this thing do what you want it to do. I'll just leave that to the imagination.
I'm gonna look at ink cut. I guess I don't know if any of this software generates G code that a guy could send to an x-carve with a drag nav, because that's what I need.
Yeah. I don't know how this thing's sending code. I don't know what it actually sends. So.
What was that, Tony?
I was going to say I need to tend my grill, but one thing I remember seeing is that SLCam, if you recall, was that German app, and it looked like it supported dog bones and stuff. So I was going to take a look at that for the drag knife.
Ooh, dog bones.
Nice. Dog bones.
Cut.
That's one of those things that would be cool for Fusion. Like when Eves does his flat pack furniture, getting a CNC to make a 90-degree corner is kind of tricky. But if you do a dog bone or a little kick out.
Why is CNC tricky to make a 90-degree corner? I don't understand it.
To make a square corner?
It'll make square outside corners all day. It can't make square inside corners. No.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's what
you didn't say inside corner. You said square corner.
I didn't specify. Square inside corner.
Oh, yes, you have a radius.
Yeah. So to fix that, you have to kick out.
But
the radius is of your smallest bit, yeah.
Smallest bit you're using. But what you do is you cut the pocket for your lettering, all right, and then you put a piece of veneer down, and you cut the letters in the veneer, and then veneer them into the pockets and sand it all smooth, and you've got really nice letters, even if they've got a little bit of rounding in the corners.
Well, you could do that too, but what I'm referring to is for joining two pieces of wood together at a 90-degree angle, you make a square.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
A square slot, a rectangular slot, and a rectangular tab that you put the slot into the tab.
Right.
Yeah, you dog bone the four corners of the
right. Well, my point is to be able to make that programmatic and say, oh, I've got an interior pocket. It's got hard corners in it. Click, it makes dog bones. So, John, does anybody know of any software that does that? Eves, help us out here.
I think my CamBam does dog bones.
Aspire does too.
Yeah, but Aspire is what, $2,000?
Yeah, right. I feel like there's a huge opportunity for all these companies that sell software for $2,000 to come up with something a little bit more in line with Fusion 360. But Autodesk is so far the only one that's really seen that need.
Well, the way they do it is they make it all cloud-based. Every time you turn Fusion 360 on, it's checking almost every time. And that's where it stores all your projects.
Yeah. You have to share me that one project, by the way.
Oh, shit. Well, thank you for reminding me. I keep forgetting.
It's all right. It's all right.
Speaking of Fusion and updates, I was using Fusion. It was like 2 a.m. Thursday, and I guess they had an update or some sort of schedule maintenance.
Yeah.
And in the upper corner, it's like in 52 seconds, if you don't save what you're doing, you can't do anything. So I saved what I was doing, and then pretty much it was a paperweight. I couldn't really go any further than that.
When it's an offline, currently we're undergoing schedule maintenance. We apologize for the inconvenience. Whatever.
I mean, I like Fusion. I can get a lot done in it, but there's like these little nuances.
Yeah. See if I can figure out how to share this. How do you share stuff in Fusion? I've actually never done that.
If you
there's a share thing.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I can publish straight to GrabCAD. That's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Share to Fusion Gallery. I guess that's what I need to click.
No. I'm not on my desktop. If you right-click on it, you can go share. It'll ask you if you want to share it to a person, and you put that person's email address there.
Well, I'm also Autodesk services are currently undergoing scheduled maintenance and will resume Saturday, July 25th at 10 p.m. So it's still under.
I have the lathe. The project I'm working on is open on my desktop right now in the house.
Uh-oh. You can save it locally, though.
Yeah, I know, but then I had this one problem where when that happened and the cloud version was out of sync with my desktop.
And it was like shit the bed?
Well, it had a hard time figuring out which one I wanted to keep as... It's kind of like GitHub, right? So it does versions. Yeah. So I had to push mine to it and then go manually into, what is it called, Autodesk 360 whatever.com.
Yeah.
And then manually demote what it thought was the primary and promote mine to primary, basically.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Were you drinking when you did it? Because I would have had to be drinking after I did it.
No, it just took a little bit of time.
well. That's convincing. Speaking of drinking, I'll be right back. So I'm done with supper. It's time for drinking.
Yeah, I had Thai. My son went over to this J&T Thai place that had Thai curry with rice and a Thai iced tea. It was delicious. Delicious.
Just put burgers on the grill.
That's what we usually do on Saturdays, but ever since I've started doing these Hangouts on Saturdays, my wife has given up on me cooking on Saturdays.
Yeah, that makes it difficult. I can't wait till I burn these things.
You know what? I got one of these things called an iGrill. It hitches up with my iPhone. So it's just basically a wireless thermometer with an app on your phone, right? And it works with any phone. I got it for $25.
Oh, okay. So they sell for like $80. You know that, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. But it was on a clearance thing over at Lowe's here, and I'm like, well, for $25, I can't go wrong.
That's what she said.
No, it works freaking really well. So you put it like if I'm cooking steaks, and I like my steak medium rare, and that's it, medium rare, baby. And you put it in there and walk away, and just tell it I'm cooking steaks. I want a medium rare, and it alerts me and says, "Okay, take it off." I can, I flip them once. That's all I do.
Wow! So literally, there's an app for that. My God.
Yes.
That's crazy.
If my grill would only flip the steak for me, I'd be.
Hey, you could do that.
Hey,
let's design that. Come on, guys. Let's design a self-flipping. We'll get a servo motor involved. Maybe some.
No. We gotta use Gerbil.
Yeah, we'll make $1 million. If you can get it cheap enough, tell me you wouldn't buy one.
Well, it's basically a rotisserie, is all it is, right? Just
Just it'll be a flat plate, right? That will fit inside of your grill, the channels that are already in the grill, right? So it fits in there, and then you'll have to make it go through the standard rotisserie holes, and then what it'll do is just whenever they hit a certain temperature, it'll just blip.
Yeah, as funny as that sounds, like when you started talking about that, in my head I already went through everything that would probably be needed to do that and then what type of Arduino to do it. What a sad world we live in.
Oh, I'll drink to that.
John. He's gonna send us all a CAD file of it tonight. Watch it.
That's okay.
There's 3D renderings will be had, and it will be epic. And we will, and somebody will trademark that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, you laugh, right? So are you guys familiar with SparkCore? Or I guess they call themselves Particle now?
No.
So it's a small Arduino that has a Wi-Fi chip built into it.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So when they were in Kickstarter, another company came out with this thing called I think it was called the iGrill or something generic like that was based off that chip. And they open sourced the entire project, where basically there was 2 thermocouplers, one for the charcoal, one for the thing you're cooking, and then it sent you push notifications when certain things happen. So a SparkCore has enough pins to drive an H-bridge, which would drive a stepper.
Right.
You would put limit switches. It could be done.
Quite easily.
Yeah.
That's really and truly, I don't even need the Wi-Fi. I just want to program the fact, you have 3 or 4 buttons on it, rare, medium, medium well, well done, and burn to hell. So you only need but so many buttons, right? And just it flips the damn thing for you. How hard is that? Brilliant.
John Cambam does what they call, we'll find it again, David, corner overcut.
Ooh.
Where they, on an inside rectangle at the corners, they will overcut the corners to dog bone it.
Yeah, same thing. It's called the same thing in ESSLCAM, so I'm going to have to play with that.
Yeah, I'm checking Fusion 360 now and see if there's because there's a lot of features inside of Fusion 360. You just kind of have to know where to look for them.
No, Fusion doesn't have anything like that. The best you can do is you put the bit size, and it'll actually put a dimple there, but it doesn't have that type of...
Well, I'm okay with a dimple. I just need for it to be kicked out so that it'll accept a 90-degree insert.
Yeah, but Andrew, don't forget, once you sell that, you can't use Fusion 360.
Why?
Because it's not for commercial use.
The freebie isn't.
Correct. The freebie is not.
Well, the student version's not, but if I pay the $25 a month, then I'm okay, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'm just learning still. I ain't sold nothing yet.
Oh, look, Cambam is $150 too. Shit, everything. That's like the new $10.
Yeah. How much is it? It's $120. Okay.
But for 2D and simple 3D, Cambam is the bomb. It
would be the bomb if it ran on Linux.
And wasn't on.
Well, of course it will. It'll run on Linux.
Well, if you're talking about that, then you might as well throw in Meshcam.
Oh, yeah. I've tried Meshcam.
Have you?
I just don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It
looks like v-carve desktop is pretty similar.
Yeah.
But it's more money.
Yeah.
When I want to get a way to go from STLs to chips.
Well, STL is not the best file format to use.
Well, that's the file out format that everything I have supports only.
Yeah. But when I want to do full-blown 3D, I go to SpruteCam 9, and it'll do up to 5 axes if I want it to. But
How much is that investment?
$1,500. and that was getting a deal through Tormach.
Uh-huh. So for a man on the street, it's like $3,000.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's my point. Is all this software that's so cool and fun to use? It's unaffordable by most of us. You know, it's
Right.
Yeah, it is. But
I mean, that was the whole reason why I ended up with Aspire. I got it through a vendor that gave me it was like $250 off at the time. So
yeah.
I mean, it does STLs, it does the fourth axis stuff. When it comes to like flat DFX, I could just go in there and add the dog bones and whatnot. You can script it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, I would have to manually do all that versus clicking a button. So
there's a couple of gun forums I'm on, and a lot of guys use Aspire for machining gun parts and stuff. Seems pretty popular.
Oh, I found that DB9 female breakout board. I don't know if I posted, if you guys saw the link, but yeah, it would be cool because I can get the board, tinker around with it because I've got the stepper motors, and then I can get that DB9 port, have all of my fun little fun jazz that I need to do with it, and that for $40, $50 would be a great way to get rolling on that stuff, And there's plenty of documentation on the that DB9 port. I'm sorry, I've derailed the conversation. It was based off the all-in-one board that Eves posted. It has a DB9. And that's where all of your
inputs,
sensors,
outputs.
Your inputs, input-output stuff is. So.
How about a quick question? So the ridiculous lathe thing I posted earlier.
Yeah.
What open source software can handle rotational axes that's open source? I know I said that twice.
Fourth axis?
Well, 2 rotational, right? So that would be A and C, technically.
Mach.
Well, I know Mach, but I mean open source.
Oh,
Linux CNC would.
Linux, yeah, Linux.
Are you talking about the 3D?
No,
You're talking about designing the G code for it, or you're talking about the
Oh,
controller?
you're talking CAM. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking CAM?
Yeah.
I don't know that there is open source.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to do continuous fourth in a open source software that I know of.
Well, it's 2 rotational, right? So it would be A and C.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was A and B, and then I read earlier it's the rotational vertically is considered C.
Yeah,